Hi, I'm Camilla and I'm a watercolorist from Denmark. And today we're going to cover a super important subject, and that is how to overcome a creative block. And at the moment I'm filming, it is the time of the coronavirus. This horrible pandemic is roaring about in our countries, and it is causing a lot of stress, and that obviously gives us a lot of creative blocks out there. So I know creativity might not seem like the most important thing at the moment, but it really is. Being creative and actually doing something with your hands kind of takes our mind of all those crazy things out there. So let's try to see if we can overcome this creative block, and I'll give you some very hands-on advice. I'll cover nine steps to overcome creative block. Of course, there's a class project as well, and that is to try one or more of the creativity hacks I'm sharing in this class and sharing your experience. Which one did you try? And tell me, did it help you overcome this creative block? Share it all in the project gallery, and you can tag me on Instagram if you upload some images as well. Just tag me Camilla Damsbo Art. And there's not much more to say. So I hope you will join me in class, and I will see you in there. Now, before we dive completely into this class, I want to just briefly go over my materials. And of course you don't need all of them. I just want to show you what I'm using, and then you can totally wing it. I'm using a Moonglow and a quinacridone rose, and I use those two for the warm-up exercises. Also the quinacridone rose I'm using later on as well. New Compose, Sap Green, a Van Dyke Brown, and lastly a Payne's Blue Grey. They're all Daniel Smith, and I'm just squeezing them into pans, so you'll see me using pans, but they are actually from tubes. 2 brushes, a cat tongue size 10, and a round synthetic brush with a nice tip in a size 6. And really you don't need these brushes, just any brushes. Sennelier, I'm using this paper for the exercises. It's 100% cotton, 300 grams. Great paper, but I like the size better for my exercises. And this one, 300 grams, Canton Heritage cold press for the final project. I have some other mediums as well. A pencil, this is just a regular graphite pencil. A Tombow pen for calligraphy, and I'm using a fine liner Micron 0.1 as well, and the pencil was a 2B, so you have that as well. Lastly, of course, water and tissue, and then we should be good to go. So let's dive in. So before we dive into some of the more hands-on stuff to conquer our creative block, I just want to talk about one thing. And when you are creatively blocked, it's a good idea to just sit down for a second and contemplate, why might I be creatively blocked? It can of course be just because you're tired, or you're stressed at work, or maybe you're not feeling well. Then maybe a break would work really well and be good for you. It can also be because you are comparing yourself to other artists, and I know I am doing that a lot, and I was a lot more even when I was a beginner. So my first advice to you is to shut your phone off, put it somewhere on the shelf so you can't see it and can't hear it, of course, if it's laying there buzzing. Put it away, and you can come back to it in an hour. And now we can go to the next creative hack, which is take a break. The most important hack when it comes to creative blocks is to go for a walk, take a break, and get out of your regular workspace. This helps a lot. Try to just focus on small details in nature, and it can be in the park or in a city doesn't really matter, but what matters is that you come out of your little shell and get out and get some fresh air, get your blood moving a little bit, and just take a look around. You can walk around your house or your apartment, or you can go for a walk with the cat in the forest like I'm doing here. This is good for your health, and it's great for your creative block as well. I promise you it won't be quite as apparent as it was before you hit nature. Now that we took a break, it's time to get back to our workspace and do some painting and drawing. But maybe don't do it as you usually do. My third hack for overcoming creative blocks is to disrupt your workspace. So maybe sit on the table, or you can stand up. If you try to do your art in a different way that you usually do, it will trigger your mind to think creatively. Also, you can switch up the place, of course. Try to go outside or sit under the table maybe, or just sit on the floor. There's so many ways to go about this, but try to do something differently than just sitting in your normal chair and using your normal way of doing things. Try to disrupt your workspace and see if that will have an effect. The fourth tip is a great way to get over that comparison thing that we talked about earlier, and that is to go down memory lane and take a look at what you previously created. So I just found some of my older paintings here. These are a couple of years old, and I just want to see if I can get some details out of these that I want to use. And I really like how I'm in a watercolor and pen style at the moment, and also these loose florals are pretty cool, so I might incorporate that. I'm not doing that. I like how the flowers actually grades in this particular one. I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna do a troll, but I think the flower has some nice details, so I think I'm gonna work with that. And this is very soft, very different, but I think I'm gonna work with that. And here, cherry blossom tree. I'm definitely gonna explore this. We are in the middle of the cherry blossom season, and I want to go close to this tree, so I think definitely I'm gonna go with cherry blossoms in my next exercises. So definitely, if you're creatively blocked, take a look down memory lane and see what you can draw inspiration from. There's a ton of inspiration from your own work. Now we've been talking a lot and looking at old pictures and stuff, and now it's time to paint. The moment we've all been waiting for, at least I have. So I'm just loading my brush with one color, and this is a new color for me. This is a Moon Glow from Daniel Smith, and right now I'm just gonna paint with that color. And I'm just gonna do some marks, just trying to actually just putting down my paint to see how I can vary it from light to dark, and just seeing how it works. Look, that gradient, how cool is that? That's really beautiful. And now I'm putting down some water, just a nice pool of water to see how it reacts in wet on wet. Oh, that's spreading beautifully. How cool is that? When you're creatively blocked, it's always a good idea to just simplify things. So just take just one paint or color and go with that. And then just see how it works on the paper. How long can it go when you are loading your brush with it? and how light, how dark, how it acts in water, how it acts on dry land. You can see I'm just trying to add some paint into the wetter area here. I called this hack Markmaking, and it's not entirely true. Of course, the first part of it was true, but it's more like just experimenting with your color. And so just painting one circle on dry land and just doing a wet circle that kisses the other one to see how much will it spread into the clean water. Just doing the same here with a square. Not that it'll act any different, but it might, because the second circle was a little wetter than the first. And here I'm just going a little bit further and doing I think this is a flower petal or something like that, to see how much does it spread. And I'm already getting new ideas when I'm just playing around with this one color and water. You can take it even further and experiment with this color and color swatch it with other colors as well. Haven't done that here, but definitely recommend doing that as well. I just wanted to keep it super simple, but if you want to take it to the next level, you can definitely swatch it with all your other colors and see how it reacts, and the combinations will maybe surprise you and create even more ideas. But for now we want to get out of a creative block, and that's why we are simplifying as much as we can so we don't have to think. I just painted a wet stroke there and just dipping in some color and seeing how it'll spread in the water. That's really cool. And I'm really only thinking about how can I apply this paint in a new way. Here now I'm just tipping the paper to see how it'll run down when I'm using gravity to guide it. Here, just putting some water down and kissing there. Oh, that's cool. Just putting it down to make it stop flowing. There's so many things you can do, and so many different ways to apply paint to paper. So definitely just experiment with your paints and see how you can work with it. Just doing a swatch more. It's when you find yourself having a hard time to stop, that's when you know you're in a good flow. You just want to get in there and put some paint to the paper. That's what we are aiming to do. And don't use way too expensive paper for this. Very important. Use something that you're okay with experimenting on. Okay guys, this is one of my favorites. This is the new tool hack. I know you have something laying around that you haven't used that much. Maybe you have a brush that you're scared of, or a new type of paper. I encourage you, if you are creatively blocked, to just grab whatever you have. I think I have this brush that I haven't tried out, and just, well, try it. See what it can do. And I'm just trying to see how much water can I put in it, and how does it work when I am painting a small stroke here, thin strokes. How can I vary it from thin to thick? Try to see how many ways you can come up with that this brush can do things. Here, just using it as a stamp from on one side and on another side. Seeing if I can get that tip to be super thin. Can actually vary a lot, this brush. I promise you this will create some sort of idea. almost guarantee it. And if it doesn't, at least you will get some brush practice, which is always good. See, that looks kind of like a leaf. How cool is that? Of course, it doesn't have to be a brush. You can also experiment with new paper or a new paint, of course. But we did cover that in the earlier hack. So just putting down a lot of water. Also a water mist spray, or if you just got some new salt for the kitchen, you can experiment with that to create some texture. There's so many things to experiment with. And here you really have to think about this as the process and not as a result. You can see this is not something I would post on Instagram as some innovative, beautiful picture. This is all about me and my brush. And if you can get into that mindset, you are well on your way. It's when you kind of overthink things that it gets in your way. Just trying to do dry brushing here as well. Really trying to push this brush as much as I can to see how it can vary. Also holding it high on the handle and lower on closer to the bristles, just to see if that affects my movement and my brush. And it really does. So experiment and have fun, and you will quickly loosen up, I promise you. But you have to trust that it's the process and not the results that are important here. Just putting some water in the earlier swatch there. Okay, get going. Now this is a powerful one I'm gonna show you. This hack, I call it the paint and repeat. Because we are going to paint the same subject a lot of times. It sounds boring, it isn't. I just googled cherry blossoms because I decided to go with cherry blossoms, like I said in the hack about memory lane, that I wanted to dive into cherry blossoms and just go in close to them. So I'm gonna stick with that and just paint some cherry blossoms. And when I said repeat, paint and repeat, that's exactly what I mean. Just find a picture of cherry blossoms, find more than one, find a lot of pictures, and just paint whatever you see. And paint the same cherry blossom from different angles, different stages of bloom, and if it's looking down into it, like it's very open, or from the side where it's closed, just paint it a lot of times. Try to do it in different ways if you feel like it. This is again not about the result. This is definitely about the process. So it's totally fine if some of them just looks like blobs. That's not a problem. They will, and that's totally fine. If it does look like a blob, then you might have learned something that can avoid it from being blobbish next time. So that's pretty cool. So look at this more like a learning experience and not about creating anything super beautiful. I promise you that maybe one of these, see, now I'm just doing the middle first just to see how that works, just going in with water to create the petals, letting it bleed. If you look at this as a learning experience, I promise you there'll be maybe one or two of these styles that you actually really enjoyed, and especially that you really enjoyed the result, and maybe that'll make you paint an entire motif in that particular style. So that would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? I think I really like to create the center first and just drag out the color from the center with my water here. So I think I'm gonna work more with that. You see, this is very much a just dry on dry, wet on dry technique with different amounts of water in the brush. Just dipping in a little more color here, but basically just wet on dry. Here just dipped in a little bit of green to see how that would mingle. I know that it might be a little scary now. We talked about simplifying and not doing too much, but this is just part of the process. Just put in a little bit new gauche as well, to just go with the flow. And if the flow says to add more color in a different tone, totally do it. It's a part of sparking that joy again and getting you to move creatively again. Just go with the flow and listen to your stomach and the way you feel about this process. I'm just adding a little bit of Payne's Gray here to cool it down a little bit. And I think that is it. So I'm gonna let this dry and come back to it. Now it's dry. And if you are doing this in stages like I am, just use the break to get some coffee or a cup of tea or something that will relax your mind and keep you in your flow. Don't cheat and go on Instagram or social media. Don't do that. That would just be self-sabotage. So stay away from your phone and get some tea. And here I'm just adding the details to the flowers, just wetting it a little bit to let some of the paint flow. And again, don't be too precise here. You don't just want to keep going and try to be as relaxed as possible. You can see I'm just using the tip of my brush here to do some small marks here, just to show the center of the flower. And I'm doing them in a new gauche and doing the small lines that kind of attaches the dots to the center in the quinacridone rose. And I can feel that this exercise is really just loosening up for me. And I think it's this thing about repeating a subject, and you can totally repeat any subject you feel like. You can paint flowers like I'm doing, or leaves, or well, you can do houses or shoes or fruit or whatever you are into. Just paint one subject, and it's easy to find a lot of different styles of that subject if you Google it, or if you go on Pinterest. And let's take shoes for example. How many shoes are there? If you dive in deep, there's a lot of shoes. So I think almost any subject can be repeated in a plenitude of ways. So just go ahead and dive into a subject that you really like. I like flowers, so naturally that's what my mind was wandering to, but that's totally up to you, and might also depend on what you are experiencing in that first exercise with memory lane. Maybe you have a subject that you want to explore. Here I'm just doing a second layer of petals on some of the flowers here, just to get some transparency going and seeing how that affects our flowers. And I really like how that created a kind of open flower here, so that's cool. I'm not sure if it looks entirely like a cherry blossom, but that's totally fine. I can see that when I have so many that does look like cherry blossoms, so that's the fact that some of them doesn't matter at all. It's totally fine. But now we're actually done with this exercise and ready for the last one. So now we have our beautiful cherry blossoms here. And when I'm creatively blocked, one of my favorite ways to get out of it is to go down my pencil case and just grab whatever I have that I haven't tried in a long time. So I'm just grabbing some stuff here, a graphite pencil, a fine liner, and a calligraphy pen of some sort that I bought when I thought I was going to do calligraphy, which I never actually followed up on. But now I can use it for this, hopefully. So I'm just grabbing one of them and just going in and see how I can use them. And this is really like when you are sitting in a lecture or in a little, maybe a bit of a boring meeting at work, and you start doodling on those pages that you just written down some notes on. Because this is totally just a doodle thing, and it's so relaxing, and it kind of just lets your mind wander, and I think that's a good idea. It's like a mental break. At the same time, you are exploring a new medium, which is so giving, and you can spark some new ideas. So I definitely recommend this if you are in any way creatively blocked. Oftentimes when you are creatively blocked, and I said this before, but I'm gonna say it again, you need a break. And oftentimes it's just because your mind has been way occupied, and you wanna still paint, but do it where you don't have to think too much. So doodles are a great way to do that. And if you, of course, this new medium thing gets you to think too much, then I recommend just going in with one, and don't overdo it. I did choose 3 other things here to play around with. Just go with one that you maybe haven't tried in a while, and go in with no fear, and just doodle on your painting, and you will hopefully see some results. Maybe it's not gonna be as beautiful as it is in your mind, and that, I have to tell you, seriously, it doesn't matter how it looks. This is not about the end result. This is about getting over a creative block. So it's 2 very different things, and it might surprise you and look amazing, but that's not our main focus, and that is so important. But I get it. I want to create beautiful stuff as well, and you will again. I promise. A creative block is never final, but you have to get out of it before you can create beautiful stuff again, because often when we are creatively blocked, you can see it in our results, and I have days where I can't create. If I wanted to, I would not be able to do it, and that is totally fine. Even though I'm a professional and live doing this, I also have these days. All of us do, and that is totally fine. I have 2 small kids, so days without too much sleep can cause that, or if they were so sad and if they cried in the morning, I can be creatively blocked as well. So I try to start out my day doing some of these exercises to get my mind off whatever I was thinking about. Try to put my mind at ease. You can see I'm going in with the calligraphy pen at the moment. I'm not going to explain my process here. As you might have noticed, I'm mostly just talking over it about this creativity block, because the process here is not that important. The important thing is to use different mediums to get out of your mindset. Are you ready for our last hack, creativity hack? This one is a super fun one. So I encourage you to put on some music and just go abstract. And you can see I just put down some water on my page here and just letting the color flow into the water and just seeing how it translates. And I'm just going in without any idea of how this will turn out. And I have sped up this process for you, so you're not sitting here and watching me do this for a long time, but you should be able to see what I'm doing. Just doing some of the things that I learned with my brush in the session about the new tools, new brush. Just seeing how I can use it on the tip and on the side, and dragging it and dry brushing it, just to use what I already practiced. Just dipping in some water here and there, splatters, not really knowing where to go. And now I'm just using a little bit more color. This is the rose, the quinacridone rose, just dipping it in to see how that affects the paint and how it works with each other, and just putting in a little bit of the yellow as well. And a bit more of the Payne's Gray to really pump up that volume of the color. Now I'm using my smaller brush to create some lines, dipping in some paint into the lines, and you can really see how a lot of the things that I did in the exercises actually translated into this piece. So it's really also to show you that a lot of the things that we do in the exercises, even if it might seem super boring and indifferent and just want to paint, it all translates in the end to something that you can use to create even more beautiful pieces. And I think this doing an abstract thing is actually one of the best ways to really push yourself out of that creativity block, because abstracts are so fun and you really don't have to think. You don't want to go in and have a motif in mind. Just go with the flow. If you want to explore some things in here, it can be how to use both wet on wet and wet on dry. So try to get that softness of the mixing colors on in the water, but also using the brush just on dry land to see if you can get some nice hard lines and some texture and yeah, just some life really. I think the dynamic of a abstract piece really happens somewhere in between the softness and the hardness of the lines. Just in a little bit of splatter there as well. You can see this is not really looking like anything at the moment, but I'm actually super inspired by those cherry blossoms, so I am going to add some cherry blossoms, just because now I have them on my mind. Did the center first there, like I discovered earlier in my exercise. That was definitely the best way to do it. For me anyway. Of course you can totally do it in another way as well, but I kind of liked how it looks. Just painting these in the white spaces. And as you saw before, I didn't plan for this. You can't see any white spaces that are cherry blossom shaped. I'm just kind of painting the cherry blossoms where there's white space, and then I can work with it if I feel like it. But right now I just wanted to add some cherry blossoms, and I know that is not super abstract, and that's totally fine. If you wanted to keep it completely abstract, you should definitely go for that. And I just wanted to add flowers because I was feeling the inspiration from my earlier exercises, which is really, really cool because that shows us that it works. Here I'm just adding more color. And there's no right way to do this. This is all up to you to create beautiful art and not be afraid of the process. It's really all about the process. And just getting back in the flow to get away from that annoying creative block, because it's the worst. But I know you can get through it, and either you take a break or you push through it with these creative exercises. I know you can do that. And now I'm actually going outside of this composition I actually created with this splash of color and the shape. I just wanted to add some cherry blossoms outside of the shape as well, to kind of create a flow from the bottom left to the top right. So okay, just adding a flower there as well. Seriously, when there's a white spot, you can add whatever you have. But I really feel like these flowers are working well with this composition here. Now I'm going outside of the frame here, just to add that flow. You can see how loose I am actually when I'm painting these. I'm not thinking too much, and I'm not using many colors either. It's just these this quinacridone rose and Payne's gray, and just working away. I'm letting the paint dry and we can come back to it. There you go. You can see how it dried up very light. I did use a lot of water, so that explains it. Okay, I decided while it was drying to go even further with this composition and create some branches as well for these flowers. So just adding a Van Dyke brown branch here. So let's see how that'll work. And I'm just doing this I'm just kind of working my way around the lines that I already created. So I don't really have a way to paint this in my mind. I'm just going with what I feel like my painting is already giving me. I think when you're working like this, you get a lot more beautiful flow to the painting, but you really have to trust the process, because it's all about the process and not much about thinking in it, really. I wouldn't be able to plan for a composition like this. And when you are trying to paint this or paint something abstract, you won't be able to come up with this exact painting, because it's all very much in the hand of the brush holder. But you will be able to create something that is abstract, and that is the point, really, to create something that is just you and your brush, and just you going with the flow. So I want you to not be intimidated by this composition, because it looks super complex, especially that wash in the background. And you've seen me create it, and it was super fast, and of course you can try to recreate it if you want, and I know a lot of you will, but when you've done that, maybe you try to experiment with your own composition and just letting your paint and brush flow and dance on the paper, and see how it mingles in the water and with the paint. So just a bit of an advice there, especially when it comes to creating or conquering a creative blocks. Being able to trust yourself is one of the most important things. So a thing we talked about when you're not trying not to compare yourself to others, you really have to trust yourself and trust your process, and don't compare yourself to any others. Just compare yourself to you, and you'll be totally fine. Just darkening the color here and painting a little bit of negative painting here, just to create some lines that I felt was already there, and they could create some dimension in the painting as well. I'm not sure where they are going, but felt like then this needed some lines, so just putting them in there. And I think when we are painting like this, there's a lot of things that kind of are in the back of our heads. Maybe we painted something similar last week or a couple of weeks ago, or we just seen something on somewhere and kind of just stored itself in our memory, and at some point we're going to pick it up and use it as an inspiration without maybe even knowing it. And I think the lines that I created before, that's just something I did in a painting I did in winter, and I think I liked that technique and wanted to try it again. So that might just be the thing. I'm just darkening some areas as well. I think not a lot, I think all paintings go through a ugly phase, and this is no exception. I think we all need to get through a phase where we have no idea where this is going. And especially when we are painting abstract pieces, it's so important to not be discouraged by this being not like we wanted. And especially with abstract pieces, we don't even know if it's going to end up in anything really that we would like, but that's totally fine. We just embrace the process here. Again, if you are doing this abstract piece to get out of creative block, really make sure that you are simplifying. So don't use too many colors, use a few, and only add more if you really feel like it's important. And also just use one or two brushes. You can do a lot with one brush, like we saw earlier. So do not overcomplicate this, and don't have too many reference photos either. You don't want to go there when you are doing abstract. You just want to go with the flow and and just paint what's on your mind. And the reason I can do something like this is because these flowers are already on my mind, so I'm not using references for these. I'm just painting them in a super simple way, so they kind of just happen, and I don't plan for it at all. So definitely do that. As you can see, I just darkened the branch a little here, and just going to work a little bit on the details. And I just wanted to show you that I'm just working from these bigger shapes to the smaller shapes kind of continuously, and not thinking too much, and just going in to see where I want my paint to go. Now the paint is dried, and I am ready to do some of the final touches. And I'm actually going to add some fine liner, I think, to enhance some of the shapes, just because I found this to be the best medium when I did the exercises earlier. Maybe not the best medium, but a medium that I just really liked. I could totally do this in a pencil or the calligraphy pen as well, but I like the fine liner, and I think it works really well. So just adding small details here. You can do whatever you feel like, and you can mix it with other mediums if you've experimented with other mediums as well, of course. As we talked about, there's so many ways to do this, and so many possibilities, so you just do what you feel is right. And I'm just putting the final touches on my painting here, and this turned out to be a semi-abstract, I guess. So not completely abstract, but more like semi-abstract, and I actually really like this composition. It works really well, but you really don't have to think about your outcome when you're doing this. The outcome is to get over your creative block. So just try to go with the flow, listen to your stomach, and just go where it feels natural to you. And I promise you that it will be great. The most important thing is that you get your brushes to the paint and paint without fear. So let that be the very most important thing about this class. Paint without fear, and put some paint to your paper, and you should be good to go. And I will see you in our wrap up in a second. Hi, and thank you so much. Okay. Thank you so much for taking this class with me. I really hope that you'll learn some techniques here to overcome a creative block. I'm not sure if you already have one or you just experienced it and want to get ahead of it, but either way, I hope that you got some very, very hands-on tricks to conquer your creative block so we can get out and paint again. And if you try some of the things in the class that I explained here, maybe some of the mark makings or the experiments with the brush or even the abstract piece, I would love to see it, and make sure to tag me on Instagram or share your projects. And if you like the class, please leave a review below. That would mean the world, and follow me if you want to know when my next class is out. So I will see you there.